Hello and welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the number one Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever. Welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast.
Welcome.
I was speaking in tongues. You know what I mean?
No.
Welcome to week 16.
Start it over.
No, the Spirit knows what you mean, though.
The Spirit knows what I mean. The Spirit's like, I think you meant episode 16, Zach. And I'm like, yeah, well.
What episode are we on? 16?
I think this is 16, yeah.
Because I just watched 15 yesterday.
Nice. We're shooting it. I'm telling. Oh, so today we're having a person named Nero coming on. He is a theistic Satanist, and we're going to figure out exactly what he believes when we get him on. But he's a very, very nice individual, and he comes in the Bible study every now and then. So I'm excited to talk to him. But he's only got an hour, so we've got about 8 minutes. One sec. Hold on. His name's Nero, Nero. But yeah, so
I guess we're going to keep going.
We're going to get him. Yeah. We're not starting over. Heck no. So anyway, thank you.
Good morning, Zach.
Thank you for everyone for tuning into the show. It's growing and we love it. We have some no, you know what? We're not going to announce the exciting news yet, are we? We're not going to announce the exciting news yet.
No.
We're not going to announce it just yet, so that's fine. No exciting news today, just boring news, which is Larry got a haircut, Zach got a haircut.
We do have exciting news to a certain point.
Oh, yeah. We our friend Aver Tyson came down, and he's here. He's a traveling minister. He came down from Wisconsin, don't you know? And he's down here from there. So hello, Tyson. Thank you for coming here. He's sitting in, and we have all the normal people in here. We have Mark. Say hi, Mark.
Hello.
We have my beautiful wife, Angela.
Hello.
And then we have my beautiful friend, Larry.
And we have my beautiful wife that does not have a microphone so that she doesn't have to be quiet.
Nice. Okay. So, yeah. We're so excited for the future of this show, and we have some very exciting things to announce to you very soon, but we're just not going to announce it right now. But yes. Also, I wanted to remind you that on Sundays at 11 a.m. Central Time, I want you to join us at Discovery Church. For those of you that follow me on TikTok, you can go to the link, or TikTok or Instagram. You can go to the link tree in my bio and check out Discovery Church YouTube. In the link tree in my bio. Come join us for church.
Yeah.
Literally, Larry, Angela, and I will be there.
Exactly.
How cool is that?
Well, and Larry Autry will be there.
Larry Autry will be there. And Darcia.
And from what I understand, Tyson's staying until then, too.
And then Tyson will be here at church this week as well. So, yeah. So we're excited for this interview. We're going to just go ahead and get to the interview this week.
Is that like
right?
a congregation inside the congregation inside a congregation?
Yeah, it is kind of like the
cool?
matrix of churches, because we have our congregation inside of our congregation.
That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. Did you hear Pastor kind of gripe me out for not calling myself, saying I'm not a pastor today?
Hey, power in the tongue. Yes.
He literally
corrected
me.
Didn't say baldy out, but he did correct you on that.
He did correct me. He's like, be
sternly
careful
corrected you.
Yeah, he did.
I believe that would be a good way.
Yeah.
Sternly corrected you. Do not call yourself, or do not call yourself a pastor.
Yeah.
He actually referred to you as saying that you're a Stephen.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
That's the guy that got stoned to death, right?
That was the first one, yes, that was martyred.
I wish that would hurry up and happen. You know what I mean? I'm kidding.
Right, I need a nap.
Got to watch what you say, brother.
Where's that? Oh, God. Is that tomorrow, or when do you think that's going to happen? I'm just kidding. We gotta be careful on the laughs this episode. We laughed for like 15 minutes at the beginning of last episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of jocularity the last time.
Gosh dang it with that jocular word.
Kidding.
Isn't
Joking
that
around.
silly? Okay.
Funny attitude.
Jocular.
Did I explain it enough? Or do I need to get the actual
My name's
definition?
Larry, and jocular's the only big word I know. And so I'm going to use the crap out of it.
No, but I cannot sing the whole song of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Man, dude, he even said it backwards. Isn't that crazy?
Yes, and I couldn't even correct him if he was wrong because I Had no clue.
I love me some Eric, dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
he does have he brought a lot of fun to the deal.
He sure did. I think he's just right there too, to where he wants to just dive in. I think he's right there too.
I think he ought to drive down. I'm issuing it. You mentioned maybe driving down and seeing us.
Well,
drive down and see us.
I just want him to drive down and see us when I'm not in the back, though. That would really stink if I was in the back on the day he drove down here, I didn't get to hang out with him.
We would need to do a schedule, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. I wonder if he's been praying. I wonder if he prayed at all this week. I wondered that, but I don't want to ask him myself. Eric, if you're listening to this, have you prayed since your last episode? Be honest.
Eric, it's just a conversation with God.
That's all it is. Okay. All right. Let's get to Nero, so we have plenty of time with him. He's going to be on a break, so let's get to Nero. Okay. All right. Satanist Nero.
Hello.
Nero, what's up, my dude?
Hey, how's it going?
Can I call you Nero? Is that what I can call you on here?
That's my name. So.
Oh, that's your real name. Oh gosh, why does everyone
Yeah.
have cool names and I don't have cool names? That doesn't make sense to me, dude.
This is a Zach talking to a Larry.
I know, right?
Zach's a whole lot cooler than
Zach
Larry.
has a Z in it, so that's pretty edgy, I guess.
Yeah, it is kind of edgy.
More than other names.
Yeah, yeah, I'm edgy, dude. You better believe it.
Hey, Nero, I'm Larry. We have not had an opportunity to speak much or speak at all.
Hi, Larry.
You know, I see you in the Bible study occasionally.
Do you watch the show?
Not regularly. Sometimes Jess, who you've had on before, will share it to me, but usually they come on while I'm pretty busy, so not regularly, no.
Okay. No.
But I've seen it a couple times, yeah.
But
Okay.
it's my understanding you're a friend with Jess,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well let me explain to you who all's in here. That way you don't get caught off guard by different voices and stuff like that. My name's Zach. You know me. I'm the host of the show. My other host is Larry, who's the other main character in the story, also known as sometimes the villain, right? Because I make him out to be that way. All right.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. He's my friend, and he's the other host of the show, Larry. We also have the executive producer here, who is Mark, and you may hear his voice occasionally.
Hello.
And then,
Hi, Mark.
and then you have my beautiful wife, Angela, here as well, and you may hear her voice every now and then.
Hello.
Hi, Angela.
And
Sounds
then,
good.
and there you go. There's that. So what we do, we normally just dive into it. So we normally dive into it. This is not a debate. we're not gonna debate you. We're not here to string you up or anything else like that. Obviously, we don't believe in the same thing as you. You don't believe in the same thing as us. It's just an interview and a conversation. That's all it is. That's all it is. The only thing we ask is we're not going to pray on here, and we just ask that you don't do any type of rituals or prayers on air. That's all we're asking for.
All right.
On that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, okay. So let's just get into it, man. So you are a theistic Satanist, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Theistic, traditional, couple other words you can use, but a bona fide devil worshiper, if you want to call it that.
A bona fide devil worshiper, right on. And so
Yeah.
can you describe to me what that is? You believe Satan is a real entity and you worship him as your God, correct?
Yeah. So the word God isn't necessarily like a creator entity of sorts. He's a God, the main God that I venerate, worship, turn to. Essentially, we know him now with the word Satan or Lucifer, which is the last name that's been given to him, the most recent one. But we believe that he is a primordial entity that has existed before the earth was even created, before this physical universe that we live in was created. And throughout history, he's had other names with different cultures and various different civilizations.
According to the Bible, he has 666 names.
Right, yeah. So, a couple that are that are historical figures that we know about. There's there's Set in ancient Egypt. There's Ahriman in Persia, Melek-Taus to the Yazidi people, and then with the Abrahamic religions, there's Iblis, Hashatan, and Satan, and so forth. So he's always been a helper of humanity and ensuring that we achieve our highest evolutionary states, and has shown us the intricacies and workings of the universe we exist in, and so that is worthy of praise and worship and an equivalent exchange of energy. So to put it as briefly as I can.
Do you believe? Do you believe that God? Do you believe God created him?
Not the God you believe in. As far as the creator energy goes, I don't really think it's like a personified, conscious being. It's more of just like an energy field where everything emanates from. And so it's not, he didn't come from Yahweh, essentially. I do believe Yahweh exists. I just don't think that he's the creator and the supreme, overseer of the universe as to what you guys would believe.
Who's the creator and what you believe?
Just there's not really a name. Again, it's not really like a personified being. You can just refer to it as the source, or the energy of everything. As far as where we live currently, where we exist in this plane of existence and this reality, I would say that the highest being that you can communicate with and receive energy from would be Lucifer. So I guess in a sense, God, but it's not really like he created every single person, consciously, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. Well, so let me get a little bit of your history. Did you ever, what did you grow up as? What were your parents? Stuff like that. Like, did you grow up Christian?
Yeah. So I was raised Catholic, which, in your opinion, may or may not be more demonic than worshiping the devil, but, that, that aside, but it wasn't ever like really that, deeply ingrained or anything. I mean, my parents went to church every now and then, and, it was just something that their parents did. So they were just like, well, this is what we do, but it wasn't ever like a, strict, upbringing or anything. I definitely wasn't taught any Christian values. I was gifted a Bible by someone. We didn't really have one in the house. So I don't have any like religious trauma or anything. It's not born out of spite, for Christianity, but yeah, it was pretty much raised Catholic. And then in my studies and trying to learn more is when I decided that the religion wasn't really for me.
Yeah. And that you base that opinion off of Catholic tradition, essentially?
Not so much of that. It was just more about reading the Bible and kind of the values that it talks about, and the kind of characteristics that Yahweh has, and the kind of things that he would say to people and do, and that sort of thing. And it just wasn't really something that I resonated with. And then in delving deeper into, different cultures and the occult, I guess you could say, and other practices is when I truly found where I would align myself. So, but I have a pretty rudimentary knowledge of the Bible,
okay,
so to speak.
Well, what do you what's your view on Christianity right now? Like, whenever you look at Christianity, what do you think about, and what's your opinions on it?
Again, I think I don't think it's inherently evil. Like, I don't see Christians as my enemies or anything. I don't see organized religion as my enemy. I'm not going to get into it, but I mean, obviously when it comes down to voting time, I'll just do my part, and everyone will do theirs, and then that's it. I think it's detrimental to human evolution and to where we are supposed to get to. I think it keeps us in a subservient state, in a constant state of being oppressed, so to say. So I think it's detrimental to humans, and I don't think it's good for you. But I also believe that everything has a place and everything has a use in the world. So I I don't think Christianity should be done away with. I don't agree with it, and I think it's bad, but it all has its place. So
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sure. Did you ever like have a relationship with God? Did you ever seek out one?
Yeah. So I would say yes. I know I've heard, not from you guys, but I've heard people being asked this, and when they answer yes, usually the response is, "Oh, well, you didn't really know God, or you didn't really have a relationship with Jesus." I definitely, I feel like I did. Again, I believe Yahweh exists. I think he's a real entity. He's a God. So I definitely see what I know what that energy looks like. I know what it manifests like in your life. And I think it's real. So I definitely did have a relationship.
Do you think when you had that relationship with God, would you say God's good?
No, morally, you mean?
Just overall good, the definition of good. Would you think that God is good? You say you had a relationship with him, right? You were getting to know him. Whenever you had that relationship with God, would you say he was good?
No.
What caused you to think that?
Again, because the whole model of the religion keeps you in a state to where you're, again, subservient and obeying and keeping your head down and just giving it all to God, and constant praise and worship, and it doesn't really take you anywhere besides keeping you as a lower frequency being in the world, and there's not really anything to it besides just giving all of your energy to this entity that's absorbing it, and then repeating the process with most of the people in the world now. I think Christianity is still religion, population based, and so there's not really anything there. I mean, if your thing is to just be I don't want to use the word slave because it's not really slavery, but obedient to a higher power and do nothing for yourself. If that's your calling, if that's what you're comfortable with, then by all means. But it wasn't for me, and I don't like the idea of being just looking down on you and telling you to obey and that you're below him in a sense. So
okay, well, as a Satanist, what do you think happens when you die?
So there's just turn this up. I'm gonna try to keep this pretty brief because it is kind of a lot. Are you, or I guess anyone present, is anyone familiar with like the Kabbalah or the Qliphoth or any sort of that sort of stuff?
No.
Okay, so long story short, essentially we are meant to evolve into higher beings. You can call that self-deification, becoming a god or whatever, if that's how you view it. But essentially, we're not supposed to exist in this plane of existence forever. We're supposed to transcend into a higher state of being. And the way we can do that here is by, learning about all of the inner workings of the world and how it works, and that manifests as having occult knowledge and I guess using your terms, doing witchcraft and things like that. And once you understand the basics of that, then there's trials you go through, there's physical or I guess in the astral plane, physical places you go to confront the trials that you're supposed to face. And then once you complete that, and once you become the best version of yourself you can, then you will transcend and leave and go into another plane of existence. If you don't, if you keep living, I guess, as a Christian or, a Muslim or, someone who's Jewish, whatever, and any other religion, doesn't have to just be the Abrahamic ones. If you live in a constant state of worship and being subservient and not really doing anything for yourself and just thinking that it's all going to come from a higher being, then when you die, you will be shown, I guess, playback of your life and all the mistakes you made, and And for some people that may look like hell, or, if you had a good life, I guess it'd be pleasant. And then you would reincarnate and again get another chance to essentially escape or break the mold, or, go to a different plane of existence that isn't Earth, that isn't a physical human experience. So everyone has the opportunity to leave. And if you don't want to, or if you don't, it doesn't call to you, and you are okay with living life you live here as a human, as a three-dimensional being, then you'll keep repeating it and being reincarnated when you die into another person, different part of the world, etc.
So who came up with this, and when did it come to be? Who's the originator of this?
Of that idea of the afterlife?
Yeah.
It comes from Jewish mysticism. Again, it's all occult knowledge. Basically, people have had very real experiences delving into these realms.
From astral projecting, right? That's where they've seen it.
Yeah. So essentially, there's it's called the Qliphoth. It's the tree of knowledge, the allegory from the Garden of Eden. And there's 11 realms to travel to and 22 different paths to get there. It's this whole diagram. Someone in the Discord shared a diagram that looked exactly like it, but it had different organizations. I think it was to demote them as being evil, which again, to the Christian perspective, it is bad because it's occult knowledge. It's knowledge from, what you would call demons, to teach you the lessons you're supposed to learn. And at the end of it, in the realm of Samuel is Lucifer. So he's where you go at the very end. But it comes from Jewish mysticism. I don't really know the time period, but it predates obviously Jesus, because, it was the Old Testament, New Testament sort of thing. And then people have had real experiences, and they've seen these realms and have been taught by these beings, and they all have the same experiences. So, that's how we come to know that they are real, and that, the lessons we're supposed to learn there are the same for people. So
I'm just sitting here thinking, and I'm like, man, it's a very real possibility, that God is exactly who he says he is. And then God, or Satan is exactly who God says he is as well. And if that's true, then you're being lied to, if that makes sense. Then you're being deceived, essentially, which wouldn't be hard to do for someone as small as us humans to get deceived by a supernatural entity, right? Wouldn't be that difficult. Like, do you ever think about that? Like, man, what if I'm getting deceived? Because the eternal consequences of getting deceived by essentially God's enemy it's pretty grave. Do you ever think about that?
No, not really. Ironically enough, I think that the religion you're following is more or less a deception, because the one promise you're given above anything else, you're not promised a good life, you're not promised an easy life by any means. The one thing you're promised, if you're a devout, pious follower, is eternal life at the end, right? And it's after you die. So the only thing you're promised is something that you have to hope for and have faith for after you're dead, which is, conveniently enough, something that can't really be disproven, because once you're dead, and then if you are reborn, then you have a clean slate. I think at first, when I was first leaving my old faith, I did have that thought, but not really anymore. Once I've really studied, the origins of various religions and things like that, it's kind of easy to see where they came from and how they came to be, and it's not really a worry of mine at all, really. But
okay, it's not something you think about anymore. Then I understand.
No.
Okay. Well, it's something you got to understand from a Christian perspective. It's something that kind of shocks. It kind of takes people back a little bit. It shocks us too. It scares us, obviously, for you. Yeah. It scares us for you because of what we do believe in, obviously. But obviously we've spoke a few times as well, and we don't look at you as our enemy or anything else like that too, but we could dang sure see a reason why Satan would want to deceive the world. And we just see so many different religions popping up and stuff like that every day, almost every day. There was a guy coming in today that, dude, it's hard for me to even explain the amount of people that come in. A guy claimed to be Christ. It's just,
Yeah.
it's insane the amount of things that are popping up every day. But I notice whenever we do this, it got like when we talk to like Satanists and witches that are like, we know hell exists, or we know Satan exists and we desire to serve him, we don't really like the Christian God. It kind of sucks the wind out of us. You know what I mean? Because we're like, dang, man, that you're basically saying that even if God was the creator and you still don't believe he's worth worship, right?
Yeah. If, let's say, hypothetically that your beliefs are 100% true and I'm, being deceived and all that. If I die and I face Yahweh and it turns out he's the creator and he, made me and all of that stuff, and I was supposed to follow the Bible and teachings and everything, then I would still, I would accept my judgment, and still, considering I still had a conscious mind, I would still think he's an immoral being. So,
okay,
hypothetically.
So you've said this a couple times. I just want to clear up what I believe a little bit, because you've said this a few times. I just want to clear up what we believe a little bit.
Sure.
We don't believe that you have to follow the letter of the law located in the Bible and stuff like that. We don't believe that you work and follow the letter of the law to get in the Bible. In fact, what we're reading today, especially in Galatians and 2 Corinthians, is that if you were to try to attempt to live by the law and what the 10 Commandments were, or what the law of the Old Testament was, that you would fail miserably. In fact, that there's no one on the planet that could even do that. So what we believe is that God actually has a son named Jesus Christ that was sent down to earth, and that he lived a perfect life. He didn't defeat the law. He didn't do away with the law, but he fulfilled it while he was here on earth. And then he died on a cross, and then he was buried. And then after 3 days, we believe he was risen again. And due to that happening, it was a fulfillment of multiple different prophecies of the Old Testament. And he actually fulfilled the law for anyone that accepts the sacrifice that he did and believes on him for that sacrifice. That's how we believe you get in heaven. It's nothing by what we do. It's by the work that Jesus Christ did, and all you have to do is believe on it. So it's really, in all honesty, it's a simple gospel, and it's really not that difficult to do. You just have to believe on Christ, and you become then you give your life to him and stuff like that. And obviously and then you receive something called the Holy Spirit after you do that, right? And then the Holy Spirit will come in you, and it will guide you in how you live your life and stuff like that. And then that's what gives you evidence of, that's what, whenever I received the Holy Spirit and I started living the will of God in my life, that was the evidence that I needed to see what I walked in was real, if that makes sense. So that's why, a lot of people do make it sound complicated that you have to follow all these rules and stuff like that. But if you were to even attempt to follow the rules and what we believed in, you would just fall flat miserably. Bible even states that there's no one on the planet that can do that, if that makes sense. So that's what we believe. We actually believe it's pretty easy. Like, thankfully to Jesus, it's pretty easy to get saved. I don't know. Have you heard about Jesus at all, Nero?
No, I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
It's not so much the works part of it. It's just at the end of the day, Jesus is still one with the Father and the Holy Spirit. They're one and the same, right? And so, if God was and always is and always will be, then the things that happen in the Old Testament, it's still the same God, although there is a scapegoat now, for the sin of the world. It's still, there's still things that, to me, in my small human perception, are immoral, and it's just not something not a being that I would deem worthy of worship. Even simple ideas like, Adam and Eve and the flood and all those things. I assume you believe those are things that actually happen and not just like allegories, right?
Yes. I don't know what
Yeah.
the word
So,
allegory
like-
means, but I'm not very smart.
Like a story, like a fable, like something to learn a lesson from. But you believe like creation and all that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like
Yes.
even the early stories, from Genesis and things like that, it just seems like, if it is true that God is just kind of toying with humanity for fun, and it's not really someone I want to give my energy to. So.
Well, I don't believe that he was messing with them for fun. Yet you're talking about the flood in itself. There is physical evidence constantly being found that the flood truthfully happened, and it wasn't a localized flood. It was a world flood.
Is it just me or is his voice sounding super good today?
I'm also
Sounds
looking
very
really good
powerful.
today.
Well, no, I wouldn't go
It's
that
very,
far.
very raspy.
God, you got some rasp going today, dude. Are you blushing right now?
No,
He could go to open mic night and sing, and he'd have that.
He said,
thing going on.
he said,
the only one
that
that
long train
the
coming.
only one that finds my praise acceptable is God. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mankind can't handle it.
Yeah, your voice sounds really
Look,
good today.
I do have a question for you. I've been sitting here quietly trying not to
Yeah,
disturb and not to anger and not to, I'm that's not my goal here. My goal is to show you as much love as definitely possible. One of the things that you mentioned is how we have to worship, yet we're not getting anything for it, basically. Do you not have to go through worship for yours as well? Because I mean, I don't know that much about Satanists. First,
Well,
second, this is the second time that we've had a theist Satanist,
theistic,
theist
yeah.
Satanist on here, and
Yeah.
you are giving a totally different
Yeah.
persona, if you will, as the first one.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, Christians do that as well.
Touche. Touche.
Oh, well, hold on a second, though. Biblically, if you want to talk about whether Satan wants to be worshipped or not, and biblically, I can think of an example.
Definitely no.
No, he does want to be worshipped.
No,
Yeah. He told
definitely
Jesus
know.
he would give him. He told Jesus that he would give him the whole world
If he'd
he
bow down to him.
and worship
Right.
him. Yeah, so Satan does want to be worshipped. So to just answer Larry's question, Nero, do you worship Satan? Do you actually have practice of worshiping him?
Yeah, so it's a little different. It's not like a complete bowing down and sort of my your will is mine sort of thing. It's more of a coexisting relationship to where there's a mutual respect for what he can offer me and what I can offer him in return and that sort of thing. It's not so much like you are my Lord and do what you want with my vessel and that sort of thing. It's a work in progress and it's a journey. And it's definitely not anything like I'm going to worship you and now I'm going to have wealth and success and that sort of thing. It's more of like a mutual relationship as you would with someone you mutually respect. The essence and the energy that Satan represents is what I feel is worthy of praise and worship above anyone else or any other god that we that we know about it.
I have something called the Holy Spirit that lives in me that guides me. It's very real. It speaks with me. It guides me throughout my life and stuff like that. It's very real to me that there's this internal being that is doing something called a process called sanctification, which is rooting out anything that might be unholy in my life and stuff like that. And it's also helping me guide to make my own decisions. Like, for example, I had a video that I had already posted to TikTok, and I don't know why, but I'm familiar with the way the Holy Spirit speaks with me now, and I was about to post a video to TikTok last week, and I felt the Holy Spirit tell me, don't post that video. And I was like, what? Okay, so I listened to it. I've learned to just obey it no matter what, but it seemed like something so small and silly. And then later on, I noticed that I had already posted that video the day before. And I was like, oh, whoa. Like, the Holy Spirit's now being kind of like petty about stuff. Like he's telling me little stuff to do, which is really cool to me. I thought that's cool that the Holy Spirit's like guiding me through these little things now, you know? Do you have something like that? Do you have some sort of spirit? Do you have any spiritual occurrences that's helping you guide through your life, that's helped grow you and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. There's, it's not really like a separate, I know that, you know, the triune God is three and one and all that. I'm not trying to say it's like a separate entity or anything, even though it technically is. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's not like a separate being or anything that, you know, that I look to. It's just with the knowledge I obtain through my practice, it's just a natural, reconfiguration of my mental state, my physical being, my soul. The whole process of, you know, what I mentioned earlier of going through these trials and everything is to have a constant cycle of death and rebirth here on earth, so that, you know, you don't have to do it later slowly over time as you physically die and then physically are reborn. So, but to answer your question simply, yeah, I've, funny enough, I've had this might seem a little cruel, you know, based on your perspectives or anything, but I had a preacher one time. He was a street preacher, and I walked up to him and I said, hey, you know, the spirit of Satan lives within me, like, cast him out. You know, it was like kind of like a challenge. I wasn't really combative or anything. I didn't, you know, swear at him or anything. I just said, you know, let's see it, you know, let's prove to me, essentially. Like, I am 100%, you know, like I said earlier, like a devil worshiper, you know, your enemy lives within me, like, cast him out now. And, you know, he did his thing. He prayed and everything, and he was shouting at me to leave and everything. And I just thought it was kind of funny because, you know, obviously nothing happened. So
well, that's testing. That's testing God. God will not be put to the test. That's why nothing happened. That's the thing. Like if you put God to the test like that, that's one of the challenges that Lucifer challenged Jesus again within in the wilderness. Like I told you, is that that Lucifer told Jesus to hurl himself off the rocks, and that even if he did that all the angels would come and pick him up, and not a hair on his head would be touched because he's the Son of God, right? And Jesus,
and to turn those stones into bread and all that.
Yeah, well, even Jesus said, "No, I won't." Like Jesus could have hurled himself off that rock. He could have, and he would have been fine. He could have called a legion of angels at any time to destroy the whole world if he wanted to. That's what Jesus could have done, but he still didn't do what Lucifer told him to do because it would have been putting God to the test. That's why he didn't do that. So whenever you went up to that preacher, you were essentially putting God to that test, and the preacher probably didn't know good enough. Now, here's the deal. If it were me, if you were to come up and you were going to ask me to cast a demon out of you, in order for me to even begin that process, I would have to know that you were willing to let go of the strongholds of your life, because I'm not going to cast a demon out of you whenever you're not willing to let the strongholds go. Because if you don't, that demon, especially if you really, I don't think you, in my personal opinion, and this is with all due respect, so please, I don't believe you have the spirit of Lucifer inside of you. I don't believe Lucifer is omnipresent. I believe that you could, at the very most, have a high-ranking demon living inside of you. So I believe that if you're not willing to let go of those strongholds, and even if I were successful in casting a demon out of you, that demon is going to go out and get 7 of his friends, biblically, and then come back and find that you still have these strongholds, and then I could get you hurt by doing that. That's what I believe. I could get you hurt if you're not willing to let them go. So.
Isn't it awfully convenient that anytime prefacing this, if I step out of line or anything, if there's something you take offense to, please let me know.
Just say it, Nero.
Isn't it awfully convenient that any time God has to show his omnipotence, it's always, well, you can't really test God, or God works in mysterious ways, or, there's a reason to why nothing happens. And it seems like that's usually the explanation. I mean, even the scenario I just gave you, like you just said, that even if you were, I know no one's perfect, but let's say you, Zach, were as close to Jesus on earth as possible. No one besides Zach was as close to the Son as possible as you. And even still, if I myself, as a human, don't let go of these strongholds, I think you called them, then nothing happens. Like, isn't that kind of a convenient way to just not really explain why nothing happens? What I think nothing happened is because I don't think, again, that Yahweh is the all-powerful God in the world. I think there's, some power there and, some abilities that he can bestow on his followers and things like that. But I just think that nothing happens because he can't.
Let me give you an alternative viewpoint, because I can see why you would look at it that way. I can see why you would look at it that way, but let me give you an alternative viewpoint, because I'm also looking at another Bible where Jesus says that a wicked and adulterous nation will look for a sign and they won't get any. They will get none, he said, 0. They will get 0 signs. I think the signs are provided of. I think these signs are provided not only that Yahweh is God and that he is God, but I also think that the signs are all around us, that how awesome he is daily. That's what I believe. And here's why I believe that, is because you got to think, okay, science, right? If you even start diving into science of the universe and the earth and all that other stuff, right? We haven't even scratched the surface of the human body and how great the human body is. We haven't even scratched the surface on how wonderful and vast and awesome our universe is. Haven't even scratched the surface. And if Yahweh is true, and if he is who he says he is, he created all that in 6 days, dude. 6 days, like it's nothing, dude. Dude, I can't even paint the front part of my house in 6 days, man. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like God doesn't owe us a sign. He doesn't owe us a sign. He didn't owe us his son on the cross. And he doesn't owe us a sign. And even if he did give you the signs that he wanted, maybe you still wouldn't even believe. Maybe, right? Well, let me ask you that question, Nero. What sign could God... Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and I want you to answer this. What sign could God give you to believe that he was good and all-powerful? Okay, which sign would be good enough, right? And even if he did that, would you worship him?
What sign could he give me to show that he was good?
Or that he is God, that he is the number one God. He is the all-powerful creator. He is number one. He is the only one. What sign could he give you to prove that? Okay, and then even if he did, would you worship him?
That's a good question. As far as the first one goes, I don't really know what kind of sign he could give me, I guess. The reason why I don't really think that he is, to not really dwell in it, is do you know what Yahwism is?
No.
So there's a religion, an Israelite religion that was polytheistic, that worshiped Yahweh as like the main God. But there was other gods, and including Baal, who is now seen as a demon.
Yeah.
And then, Ishtar and things like that. But there was, festivals, rituals, animal sacrifices, kind of like the ones that are still in Leviticus and things like that. And then eventually, essentially he was a god of war and storms, which conveniently enough, his preferred method of eradicating people is with a lot of rain. But even in like the places where the religion originated, there's like Petra, which is like one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It's like near Jordan. It was built based on engineering to deal with flash floods and things like that, which they attributed to to Yahweh and things like that. And, you know, there's dams and cisterns and water conduits and things like that. And then just throughout history, through conquering of other nations, through spreading of the word and through colonization and things like that, eventually it just became, you know, what it is now. So I think because I can kind of predate and see where the worship of this God came from, I don't really know what kind of proof I could be given, you know, that he was always there and just so happened to start in these little tribal Israelite groups that eventually now, you know, dominate the planet.
But you believe that there is a creator, right? You believe that there is a creator. You just don't believe it's the guy that I think it is, right?
Yeah. And I don't think it's like a personified person either.
Well, if that...
like an entity.
You just think it's a thing. And you don't believe it's intelligent?
Yeah.
You don't believe it's intelligent?
It's like a source of energy, and the various gods or entities, whatever you want to call them, just
Nero
split away from the energy itself.
This is where I'm having an issue, though, is because whatever created us has to be an intelligent being. Has to be, right? The fine-tuning of gravity alone tells me that whatever created the universe is intelligent. It can't just be a thing, right?
Yeah, it's not so black and white. I mean, there is an intelligence, there is a consciousness. It's not just but it's not like a you know, a male figure that you know, is essentially wanting us to praise it for worship. It's just it's above this plane of existence, essentially. We're not really ever going to connect with it here.
Yeah. So I'm not arguing. Please hear my heart on this. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not trying to jam you up or anything like that. I'm not that. That's just not in my nature.
Argue away if you want.
No. That's just not in my nature. But I'm just that one particular issue. I'm just having an issue with that. Because in my opinion, that even if you like, I'm not saying that I believe that God isn't Yahweh and all creator and stuff like this. But what I'm trying to say is I'm budging a little bit to meet you kind of in the middle here. But I'm saying at least whatever created the world, it has to be intelligent. Okay, I'm willing to kind of back off my position a little bit just to entertain a conversation with you a little bit. That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But the issue I'm having is, at the very least, the creator, whatever created everything, I mean, just the human body, and that's just a very small example. It has to be an intelligent designer, DNA. The fact that our heart alone, I mean, the cells in our body, the chemistry of the human brain, gravity is the most shocking one to me, that if gravity was off like 1/1,000,000,000% one way or the other, we would either be smashed into the ground or we'd be thrown into orbit. Like, that's how fine-tuned gravity is. So whatever created this, it can't just be something that's just around willy-nilly. It's got to be something that's intelligent, that fine-tuned the universe with a divine hand, that carefully crafted. I mean, you don't want to believe that you were created carefully and how special you are? I mean,
I think maybe the way I was explaining it was incorrect.
Okay.
So it is intelligent and conscious. It's just not like a, you know, we I guess you say we're created in God's image or whatever. So we personify this being as like not really a person, but with human qualities. So I don't think it was a personified being that thought, you know, I'm going to make a special little, you know, world where I'm going to put these people and then, you know, get mad if they eat pork or if they are, you know, in love with someone of the same sex. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. So it is intelligent. Obviously, there has to be some force that we can't understand. I just don't think it's someone you really talk to, and it's not really something that's attainable in this plane of existence that we exist in right now.
Well, you don't think whatever created you and everything around it would have a desire to have a personal relationship with you?
No. Right. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, just to make sure I'm covering your time correctly. You have 19 minutes, right?
Yeah, that's fine. We can, if we, like I said, if we happen to go over a little bit, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I watch the clock. I have a timer and everything else like that, and I just want to make sure
I'm watching it too.
I want to make sure that we hit a because what we do at the end is I usually say something, Mark says something, Larry says something, and then you get to close us out. And so I want to make sure I'm leaving plenty of time for that, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so you got about 19 to 25. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Well, that one's tough for me too, man. That one's tough for me. If whatever created the universe fine-tuned everything and carefully crafted you to where you have to literally live on this planet and go through everything. I'm sure you've been through a ton as well. We all do. And we go through all these experiences in our life and stuff like that. It's just hard for me to believe that whatever did that is just outside, willy-nilly, doesn't really care what happens with you. Well, first of all, I don't want to believe that. And second of all, it's hard for me to believe that whatever did take the time to carefully craft all this doesn't want to have a relationship with us.
I think that second statement you said is the source of that, is that you don't want to believe that. I think for the most part, as far as Christianity goes, you're taught to not live according to the world, right? You're supposed to live, according to God and seek something higher.
Do you know why that is, though?
Why don't you let me know?
Okay. The reason why it says be ye not of this world, and I have a hat that says NOTW and has a cross as the T and it says not of this world, right? The reason why it says to be not of this world, because there is a king of this world, and we believe it's the God that you're serving, Satan. We believe that the king of the world, biblically, says that Satan is the king of the world. And so the reason why you're not supposed to be ye of this world is because you're not supposed to serve the king of it, which is God. So this is just a visiting ground for us, because if what we believe in is true, we're here for at the most 100 years, and eternity is forever. So we're supposed to live in the heavenly. That's where we're supposed to reside. We're supposed to be the kingdom of heaven while we're here. This is just a little bit of we're just stopping on the way here. And so you don't want to serve the world, because if you're serving the world, you're serving the king of the world, which is Satan. That's why it says, be ye not of the world.
But still, when you said you don't want to believe that the creator doesn't want a relationship with you,
that's just honest. That's me being honest. Yeah. That's me being honest, saying I don't want that to happen. But I also firmly believe that whatever did take the time to fine tune it would want a relationship with us too. And I don't think that's unreasonable to say that either.
I think in your beliefs, ironically, the faith that you have for the afterlife is something that's very worldly, because you believe in a father figure that's going to, make everything okay, and you're going to be with your friends and your family, and, and it's just another world, but you're still going to have these earthly things like your relationship with other humans, and there's going to be a father figure that takes care of you, where the real ascension and the real next step in human evolution is not to be, of this world also. Ironically enough, we kind of believe the same thing, but in my opinion, you're still clinging on to this existence and this realm just in another place. Like, you still want to be around your friends and, your wife and everything, and just under, a father figure that's going to protect you and make all the pain go away. It still, to me, seems like a very worldly thing to cling on to.
No, that's hope. That's what hope is. That's what it is. That's what hope is. Hope is hoping. I mean, that's what faith combines into, is hope. That's what faith is. Faith is believing in what you don't see, but then faith also couples with hope, and the hope is that all pain will go away someday, right? I don't know if that's worldly or not, because that's not worldly, because in this world, we'll always experience pain. Always.
Would there be pain and sorrow in heaven, though? Like, isn't that the whole point, is that there wouldn't be any of that?
Wouldn't be, no. Yeah, there wouldn't be. That's why I say it's not a worldly thought to want to go to heavenly, because it's perfect there.
Right, but I mean, the only reason you experience pain and sorrow and everything is because of you're experiencing what it is to be a human. If there wouldn't be any sort of conflict or anything to give you that pain in the first place. So you're still thinking of it as as a human. I don't know if I'm making sense or if I'm coming across in a clear way, but
No, I
essentially
think that's far too intelligent for me to grasp.
Hey, Nero, this is Mark. I was kind of wondering, listening to you, kind of summing up in my head, is, okay, what you worship is ego, and what you have a problem with is a suppression of ego that happens in Christianity, that is constantly taught throughout the whole Bible: humble reliance, self-denial. It kind of reminds me, have you ever seen The Devil's Advocate?
No.
No, you haven't? Well, there's, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Al Pacino portrays Satan.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah. And he goes on a rampage about how much he hates God. And it's all, he put all these beautiful things on the earth, and then he says, don't touch, don't taste, and he called God a sadistic, and I'm kind of hearing overtones to that. So is it reasonable to think that that's where the lure is for you, or where the positive is that it's
no, actually it's actually the opposite. The whole point of the and obviously we don't have a lot of time to go through it, but what I was explaining when I first came on is the delving into the occult knowledge we're supposed to receive as humans now is to actually strip yourself of your own ego, and to not really think of yourself as a human who's here for the sole purpose of worshiping. The purpose of entering the Qliphoth I mentioned earlier is to confront your personal shadow that has to be faced and understood and absorbed, in order to become a vehicle of evolution. So, but, from a Christian perspective, it's all bad. It's all satanic. It's all, wrong, because you're not supposed to eat of, the tree of knowledge. Here, like in these realms that I mentioned earlier,
I think that it's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right.
And evil. Exactly. Right. So we encounter our fears, our restrictions, our inhibitions, weaknesses, all those sorts of things, with the purpose of understanding and conquering them. And it's difficult, but there's a merit that comes with that, because you become aware of confronting the negative and chaotic energies within yourself and understanding them. So the whole purpose is understanding the balance of light and dark and that sort of thing. So it's actually, again, I can't really get too much into it, because I could go on for like 3 hours
Gotcha.
explaining it. It is pretty dense, but it's essentially being aware and being in tune with both, not just the, good, I guess, quote unquote, good qualities that we can have as humans, like, benevolence, mercy, love. I feel those things every day. I love humanity. I love my fellow humans. It's not like I'm just a spiteful person living in a cave or something. It's just, it's the understanding of the balance of both. And from a Christian or Abrahamic religion perspective, delving into these things and understanding them and communing with these entities for the understanding is seen as forbidden, satanic. It's going to damn you to hell, that sort of thing. So that's essentially what it is. But bare bones, it's meant to strip you of your ego in the end. And it's a whole process. It could take a lifetime. It's not like I can just do it in a night. So
fair enough. Okay. So just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and do the rounds. Okay, Nero? That way we can make sure we can get this in before you have to go back. Okay. We're going to go to Mark first. He's going to say his final thing to you, then Larry, then me, and then you're going to get it. Okay.
Sure.
All right, Mark.
I'm kind of speechless. I don't really have much to say. I'm just going to listen. Thanks.
Okay, fair enough. Larry?
I understand from your viewpoint it is very difficult to understand faith. But one of the things in Hebrews 1:11 says, And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. A couple of other verses, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to say, Jesus does love you. I completely believe that, and in no form or fashion did he ever punish any of us for fun or, just for his amusement. He did put us here with a purpose, and he left us alone to a certain degree to be guided by our consciousness, and that there are pitfalls that each and every one of us can stand in or fall in or trip in or be muddled by. And it is, I don't know, kind of saddening, I think would be my word for today. Saddening. But how old are you, by the way, Nero?
I'm 27.
I was going to say, I think
27.
he's
Sorry,
I think he's kind of young because
Well,
because he
kinda
didn't know
tell
what
that
the
by his
devil's
voice.
advocate is, and that's 97. So
Right. Well, I kind of figured out that he was a little young just by the sound of his voice. He doesn't sound older. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the choice of your words that put you in the realm of my children's age is not my age. And I do pray that God removes the scales from your eyes and that you can understand what faith is truthfully about.
you're done?
I appreciate you coming on here, man. Love you, brother.
all right, Nero. Now, I'm gonna start with a question and then I'll say it. But do you have spirit guides, or do you have any spirits that you speak to, that you actively speak with in these spirits or anything like that?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. So much like you challenged that pastor to cast a demon out of you, I have a challenge for you, and I'll leave it up to you whether you do that or not. But I have a challenge for you. Next time you speak to your spirit guides, I want you to just bluntly ask them who Jesus Christ is. That's it. That's all I'm asking you to do. Okay. And as far as that goes, you can go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. If I tell you that I've done that before, would you want to know the answer?
Yeah. What's the answer?
So I'm trying to figure out a way to word this in a pretty concise way. When I said earlier when I first came on is that, that I don't really hate Christianity or Christians or anything like that because everything has a purpose. Jesus, the archetype of who he was and what he represents, is kind of essential for how the world operates. You have a purpose. All of you here have a purpose with how the world operates. And that purpose is what you're taught, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is to pray for, your enemies, love your enemies, and turn the other cheek, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with that, for people like me who don't do those things and don't believe those things, when we do certain things that, you can call witchcraft, black magic, whatever suits you best. When we do these certain things and we put that energy out there that's a little bit more, I guess you could say destructive, when there's people that are praying for you and telling you that they love you and telling you that they're going to turn the other cheek and that sort of thing, you are willingly accepting, just as Jesus did, the weight of the sin. You're accepting the weight of my sins. And when there's people that live their whole lives just, turning the other cheek, loving their enemies, not retaliating, and not, doing anything harmful back, you are accepting that energy for whenever you pray for someone that isn't a Christian or that's, doing certain things. So that's why when you look around, I don't know your personal life or anything, but if you look, usually Christians have a lot to go through and they don't have easy lives at all. And what they're taught is that, it's your cross to bear, and it's your, the yoke you carry, or whatever it might be, to teach you the cruelties and the indifference of the universe towards your feelings. When in reality, you're accepting all of that because you're loving people like me. You're praying for people like me, and you're turning the other cheek. So I know that once I'm done here and once I leave, you might not believe it and you might not think about it ever again. But this is the cheat code that no one else is really ever going to tell you. You're probably still going to pray for people. You're going to pray for Satanists and the witches and things like that. I'm telling you, I'm revealing to you now that when you do that, you are accepting the backlash of the workings that, we do and that we put out into the universe, all the negativity and stuff, because you're embodying the archetype of Jesus. And so he was here, again, his purpose is to set the example for how the vast population should live, so that the few that hear the calling of the other side can essentially have a scapegoat to take the brunt of the negative energy.
But this is what the spirit guides told you Jesus is?
That and what people in my community have all essentially been revealed the same thing. So if I can ask you right now, when I leave, you're still going to pray for sinners and people that are non-believers, right?
That's sure.
I mean, that didn't really change your mind. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean,
but,
that may be what you can believe, but we all, I think, believe here that our God's much bigger than that. And we're seed sowers. Yeah. What happens in releasing our prayers is it goes up to God.
Yeah.
And that's between God and you. It doesn't involve us anymore. And, that's the whole deal of where I see the distinction here is this power of ego versus the power of me saying, look, God is all things. I'm going to pray for you, but that doesn't make me responsible for all your negative energy that's going to come back or your sins. Christ is the one responsible. I
get what you're saying, Nero. I totally get what you're saying, but here's the deal. Like that would make me like God, like Christ. And that's not the truth, man. I think Satan does want you to believe that like we are like God's, but we're not. Like we literally have nothing to do with anyone's salvation or the riddance of sins or anything else. That has only happened one time, and it will only happen one time. There's nothing I can do to rid of anything bad that you do or anybody else does, or anything that I'm going to do bad again in the future. There's nothing for me to do that. It's already been done, and it's already been defeated. I can't do that. So
can I ask you a question before I get to the closing statement, just out of curiosity?
Yes.
I meant to ask earlier, but then I got sidetracked.
Okay.
When you asked me, like what God would have to do to reveal himself and, what he would have to show me for me to worship and praise him.
Yes.
From your perspective, again, totally hypothetical. So I would assume that God isn't going to, think less of you for answering the question honestly. Let's say, that you live to see the end times, you live to see Revelation, and it's the whole picture that's painted for everyone. Babylon the Great is there, doing her thing. I don't want to say it out loud, but and then let's say you see that, and then you see Michael's sword crumble with rust, and you see the ancient serpent devour the heavens, and then you look up and you see Lucifer seated above the stars of God. Hypothetically, would you still die a believer to God? Hypothetically.
Yes.
To Yahweh.
I would.
I can't even hypothetically answer that, because you got to understand the end of the story has already been written. There is no
Right.
The end of the story has already been written, that the originator of the story, where everyone derives their story of their religion from, the ending of that story has already been written. I couldn't even put myself in that position to think that Satan's going to be set on the throne. I can tell you this, he still thinks he's going to get there. The reason, you want to know why he thinks that? is because his only other choice, that's the only hope he has, because he does not have hope. The only hope he has is that he might overthrow the army. You don't think he'd be building an army if he didn't think he could win? But the problem is he can't. He's not. Satan is a creation. God is a creator. Satan is, the ending of his story has already been written. You get what I'm saying?
So, yeah. So even if you physically, with your own eyes, saw the kingdom of heaven turn to ruin, you would still say, that's who I'm going to worship. Hypothetically, let's say this is a movie that someone made, and you're in this movie, you're a character, you're not that. Would you still worship Yahweh even if you physically saw with your own eyes?
I can't answer that. That would mean that God isn't exactly who he says he is. I believe God is exactly who he says he is. That means he's all powerful. Mm-hmm. He's perfect. And then there's nothing on the planet that has been here, will be here in the future, or is here right now, or has been here in the past. Everything combined to make one giant, glorious, evil being can defeat God. Everything ever created, everything that's going to be created, or everything that's here now can combine together. All the universes, all the planets, everything can combine together, and they can't defeat God. And if something could defeat God or the kingdom of heaven, then he wouldn't be who he says he is. And I just believe he is who he says he is, and that there's nothing that can defeat him. There's nothing that can.
On my end, I will never bow a knee to anyone but Christ. Period.
Yeah, I
do have a quick question for you, though.
To get into your hypothetical situation, it would have to mean God's not who he says he is. That's just...
Right.
I think the point I was trying to get across is that we're one and the same, where we can't really fathom what we would have to witness to change our minds. Like, we're both on the opposite
Actually, I've never been where you are. Okay? First off, you were raised in a church, Catholic or not, doesn't matter. You yourself said that you're pretty well versed in what's in the Bible. So you've had somewhat of a relationship with the Word. And then thirdly, you have chosen to go another route. Okay. I was raised in a church, Pentecostal. I was led astray by my own flesh. I would never have bent a knee to Satan openly then. I never did. Yet I didn't follow the God I knew who still existed. Even at my worst point, I never doubted that God existed. And then my return to God, I have seen his hand in each and everything that has just simply amazed me and solidified my faith. Now, the question I was going to ask you is, have you created a child?
No.
Do you have children?
I don't. No.
Okay.
And
my question for that is, once you have a child, you want that child to love you. You want that child to obey you. You want that child to have a relationship with you. And when they choose not to have a relationship with you, it doesn't quit hurting. Never does. Now, I can't make a child have a relationship with me, but that doesn't mean that I don't wish for it. She has her free will. I have I had mine. I walked away from my parents in the wrong light too. God is, you mentioned having a father, or we having a father figure. Yes, God is a good father. Mm-hmm. And because I have a relationship with him, I feel every bit of the love I get from him. And then I am able to pass that love through sympathy and empathy that he allows me to have for people in your situation, to be quite frank. And I don't mean that in any form or fashion disrespectful. I do know that has something to help me relate because of that relationship with a father and with my daughters, if you can understand that. I believe that helps me quite a bit understand that relationship.
Okay, Nero, you got to go here in a minute.
I'm sorry, bro.
No, it's all right. No worries.
Go ahead with your final statement, brother. Sorry about that.
No worries. First, I just want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of people I told to tune into this. So hopefully they did. Next week, I think, is when it's going to get uploaded, right?
Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Time. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tuesday. So first, Brother Russell, he's my newest student in the occult. He's an ex-Mormon, so he's, also, which again, you might think is more demonic than being a Satan worshiper, but his willingness to learn has propelled him to new heights, and he's begun to shed his skin and cycle of rebirth. And I'm proud of him. And also Magus Victoria, her unyielding resilience and mastery of the physical plane is truly a sight to behold. And I hope I can one day have a physical vessel as remarkable as hers. And she's a true apex predator roaming the mortal realm here. Besides that, I just want to thank you for your time, for having me on. Anyone else is tuning in that is having some doubts and wondering, about delving into anything else, I encourage you to research it, to follow your heart, and to get rid of the fear of, the damnation. But maybe knowing your audience, it might not really happen. So other than that, that's pretty much it. Listen to the Silver Fangs. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, Nero. I appreciate it, brother. We'll holler at you later.
Thank you for talking with us.
All right.
All right, bye.
See ya.
I think that's what the Bible means by a hardened heart. I think the point that he was trying to make was there's nothing in reality that you could see or experience that would tell you that God isn't real. And he was basically saying, that's my answer.
Yeah.
And in other words, his heart is hard. And it's been hardened.
Well, yeah, because like I was making the refusal to answer that question. I was like, hey, God, if I saw Satan sitting on the throne of heaven, right, would I worship Satan? The answer is that would mean that I was wrong about that. I was wrong about who I was serving the whole time. And so that would make it a false religion. Like I would be serving a false God, right? Because I'm sorry, but there's no one that can defeat God. There could be 20 Satans and he's not going to defeat God. There could be 1,000,000 Satans and he's not going to. Satan is a little tiny little P ring on God. I don't know if that's the right thing to say or not, but like
no, but it's a constant thing. Satan, Lucifer, wanted to be above God, and he said he'd make his throne. I mean, he pretty basically said Scripture at that end point right there. He said that if you see Satan above the crown of God, in the stars, my God's not that small. Okay, Satan's small, and he keeps convincing people that he's big, and he's not that big. He's yes. You did I'm going to correct it now. You did mispronounce or misstate one of the times when you were talking about Satan being the God of this world, and you put God in that statement.
I said king.
You'll catch it. Yes, you'll catch it when you edit it. But I cringed when you said it, so I know I
didn't say it. God. I said king.
Okay. Through that, he was thrown.
I was actually very. Hold on.
Well, you were on it, but Satan was thrown to this earth. Okay, it didn't say this universe. It didn't say this spectrum of the universe. It said to this earth. And if you back up, I've seen pictures of where they back off of the world, and the further they back off, the smaller it gets in the universe. Then it disappears into the Milky Way, and the further back it pulls, the smaller the earth is. And he's been contained to this little microdot.
He's in jail. He's in worse than jail.
He's been contained to this little microdot. Yes, he's a little bit bigger than us.
Right.
That's why we need God so bad.
Yeah.
And he is so sly. I mean, the Bible tells us about how sly he is. He is so sly that he constantly slides in with those little bitty doubts. And before long, you got this great big ball of doubt. And one of the things that Pastor Ben spoke this morning at Ambassadors instead of Pastor Didi. And one of the things that he pointed out is something that I've felt and I've said in roundabout ways a lot. And it's right now, this generation is drowning in information, yet it's starving for wisdom. They are so overwrought with this information age. If you take a look at, let's just go 2,000 years. I mean, we progressed a little bit at a time until 1900s. And then, bam.
5,000-year leap.
It's like dramatic. In 1 century, how much information has come blasting at us. And the information that Larry had in his generation growing up was nowhere near the information that I had growing up, which was nowhere near the information when you were growing up. And now we got these 27-year-olds, millenniums. Is that the right terminology?
Millennial.
I'm technically a millennial by definition.
Okay, what's this next generation coming?
Gen Z.
Gen X
Z.
or Gen
Gen
Z.
Z. I'm Gen X.
You are now a grandfather, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm.
You are now a grandfather. Can you imagine if Christ does not come back before that grandchild gets to be your age, how inundated with false information that they are going to be? I mean, if you go from
nasty,
the teachers being able to whip his butt at school, right? And then whip my butt at school. And by the time you got to school, there wasn't even whippings.
And,
bull crap.
Now they're telling them they need
Bull
to
crap.
decide whether they're boys or girls, too.
Yeah.
Bull crap.
And the stuff that I'm seeing.
I had a teacher that had a ring that went up that high, and if you talk too loud, she'd punch you in the head with it.
She must have been an old school teacher from our time frame.
literally just if you were talking too loud or something, she'd pop you in the top of the head with that ring. And I'm talking, you'd be like, one of your eyes would be blinking funny for the rest of the day.
But I mean, I am just.
Do you see how
I'm just beat up with how misled everybody is.
Do you see how Satan was trying to get Christians to be afraid to pray for other people in that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I felt that.
Satan's convinced Nero
that we're going to suffer.
That we're going to suffer for praying for unbelievers.
Right.
That's insane. I don't know if you caught that or not.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm telling you, I was more quiet on this one than I have been, and it was the Holy Spirit had me. I wasn't even chewing a mint. I was like this.
He was right. Mm-hmm. He was right that he was like Satan knows the algorithm of being a Christian, because I call it an algorithm because once you become a Christian, it's almost the same for all of us. You become a Christian, devote your life for God. Life inevitably gets harder, right? Life
Very
inevitably
much so.
gets harder. Well, he takes the true word of God and twists it a little bit. Satan does. And he tells Nero, you know what happens? You notice that, right? You notice that when Christians get to know God and they give their life to God, that it gets harder. Here's why. Because they're embodying what Christ is, and then they pray for unbelievers like you and everybody else, and they have to take on that punishment just like Christ did. Christian, right? And it's like, wow. Like, literally, that's what he wants you to believe. That way you'll stop. Because guess what? Guess why Satan doesn't want you to pray?
Wait a minute. I was just sitting there thinking, okay, so I should have cancer. My legs should be gone. I should be smoking and drinking. Right. I should be in a bad marriage because I prayed for a good marriage. I prayed. Boy, all the prayers we do in ambassadors for old people. I mean, that's what we are, and we all have ailments, and our body wears an out.
Well, they just use the doubt, like you're going through something,
but
right?
See, that's something else.
Well, the reason why you're going through that's because you prayed for people.
Yeah, but the thing is that even some Christians have this idea, and I'm going to step out on a limb with this because I really haven't said a lot about it. I believe that what was made in his image is our soul. I don't totally believe that. I mean, I know that God doesn't have, knee joints, and
it says in the Bible, God is spirit.
Yeah, we are made in his image of spirit. And this body is a human. We think that, I have talked to preachers that think that this body is going to go to heaven, and this body's not going to go anywhere but here. I mean, it doesn't matter if you get cremated or if you die, you're dust to dust, ashes to ashes. The Bible tells you that. But they still think, well, our ailments, we'll have a new body and my leg won't hurt. But we're still thinking in the physical. I'm not going to be a physical being. I'm going to be a spiritual being. Then the part that God put in me and each and every one of you, and even the non-believers, because everybody's born in the image of God. There is a part of God in us that he has given us. I don't know any other way to explain this, but, one molecule of God is he gave you, okay? He gave each and every baby that was born. So we have the possibility to have I'm going to use this term, and it's weird, but a magnetic attraction to God, because the part that is in us of God yearns for him.
Right.
And we try to fill it with everything. Witchcraft. Satan loves to intersect that magnetic attraction. He loves to intersect that, and he just, I'm getting wound up and I'm trying to calm down, guys. That's me taking a breath. Okay. I'm going to climb down off the podium right now, and I'm going to calm down just a little bit.
Oh, okay. You're not going to finish what you're saying?
No, because I really feel like God said zip.
Thank God. Thank you.
No, it made absolute sense to me.
Yeah.
Does he tell you to be quiet more often and you don't obey?
I'm sure he does. And I've been called out on it. See, here, and you're learning it. You're learning it. There are times when God tells you, not now. This is not the time for that statement or for that word. It is not the time. And we are to obey. And if we're not obeying,
it's hard for me too. I'm a talker too. I make fun of you for talking all the time. But I talk all the time too. But
I didn't notice that about you at the beginning of this conversation where you said I talk too much.
We need to have a meeting after this though. So yeah, I want to talk since I'm not willing to call you guys out about your mistakes on air. Then we'll have to have a meeting. So
well,
that's why God picked you two, is because you both are talkers.
Yeah.
If I did, okay, hold on. I want to address this just because you guys did address this in public. I want to say this.
There's a reason for it.
Hold on. If I did call Satan the God of this earth, I've done it before, by the way. And then I read in the Bible myself to figure out he's called Prince and he's called King of the world. I don't think he's ever referred to as God of the world. So, but hold on. I've always been told this as a kid that he was the God of the world, though. Yeah. So I've been raised up to believe that.
Likewise.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't believe Satan
God with a little g.
I believe in one God. That's it. That's all I believe in.
Well, there's plenty of manifestations of Satan as a God with a little g, like Bel and,
just like I told
tons of other, yeah.
Just like I made that video that he's a cheap imitation. He's a fake Gucci bag.
Knockoff.
That's all he'll ever be. He's a fake Gucci bag. That's what he is, right? So anyway, yeah, man.
I'm sorry.
Does Darcia have a fake Gucci bag?
No.
Oh.
No, she does not. And she eyeballed me to make sure because I glanced down at it and she was like, absolutely not. You
it's
don't
a
say
real
a
one?
word. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was interesting, but we need to we do need to have a meeting, and I want to get out of here.
No, hold on. The reason that I brought that up is because I did have an opportunity to listen to a couple of other podcasts and we've been mentioned in. And some of the stuff that we've said, we've already addressed, especially with your Bible study. But our interpretation was a little bit incorrect, or actually all I did was read the word. But through that, I just wanted to make sure that, yes, we had this conversation before. We are human. We don't have 100% knowledge of what, of everything in here. So we are fallible. We are not infallible.
Can I explain to you a little bit why it bothers me a little bit coming from you? Can I explain that since we're going to do this?
Because I'm always wrong?
No, not that. I want to explain this, okay? And I know you don't see this. I know you don't see this. She does. She sees it. She sees some of it, right? But I get attacked by Christians daily. Attacked.
Yeah, but I wasn't attacking.
Hold on. Literally full-fledged attack by Christians. I get called a false prophet every day. I get told I'm going to hell every day. I get attacked by my own people every day. Listen, I put out hours and hours and hours of content a day. And I don't get many breaks, Larry, doing that. I'm constantly doing something, okay? And I'm constantly talking. You are too, and stuff like that. I think we need to have a little wiggle room for being wrong every now and then. Does that make sense?
Yes,
or saying the wrong thing?
The reason I brought it up in this format was because
make sure we did, yeah.
That the Christians that want to bash on what we said can understand that, we do. We are not.
Maybe I shouldn't feel attacked. Maybe I shouldn't feel attacked by you, but I guess I'd rather it be done in private. But maybe I shouldn't feel attacked by you. But like, I at least want to know I have a place where I can go to where I'm never going to get attacked, and I would like that to be here. Does that make sense?
Okay.
I want this to be my home.
But like Pastor
can this
Kevin,
be home? Can I have a hug right now?
Yes. Pastor Kevin
hold both of my hands and give me 5 seconds of uninterrupted.
My arms aren't long enough.
I want 30 seconds of uninterrupted eye contact. Ready, go. I'm just kidding.
He couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it.
Make it stop.
Hey, he dropped it after 2 seconds. I was ready to go.
Well, because his eyes were going like this.
Yeah. But Pastor Kevin we were able to have a meeting with Pastor Kevin before this podcast, and he reminded us we are going to constantly be attacked.
I get attacked so much, dude.
Well, I didn't mean anything by it. I know I'm like
didn't.
A dad.
That's why I said. That's why I said maybe I shouldn't take it as attack. But like, I kind of like.
No, you probably shouldn't have.
Hey, there is a difference between attack and correction.
Right.
Yeah.
Correction is done in love.
Well,
I did not do that out of anger or trying to call you a heretic.
But you also know I know that there's one God, right? You also know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course we do.
I think Satan's
but
nothing.
I said that for our audience, not for us.
Did I really say God, though? Because I thought I was very careful to say that. I did. If there's two of you saying I said God, I believe you. But
I don't know.
I'm going to edit it, so we'll see. But anyway, this kind of, today I felt like it went well. I think there's, it just makes me sad. There's just like in my lives lately, I know you haven't been there the last couple of days, but dude, there's been some people that are Christians that come in and start just saying some crazy stuff about Christianity now.
I know.
There's people that calling Paul a false prophet. There's just something new every day. And I'm like, whoa.
Yep. Well, I was there for
were you today?
An hour and a half yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Yeah.
I was, and I told you I'm busy
you saw
painting.
some of that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see. I just listened.
Dude, it's crazy, man. So many people.
But we got the whole house painted except for the garage door. I mean, we busted it yesterday and got a lot done in anticipation.
Audience doesn't
of the
care
storm.
about that. Just saying.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying
audience doesn't care about that. I do. I don't really.
When I
care,
get that busy, or if I'm that busy driving, I can't get in there and help you out. But I know that the girls had your back on it all because they always got your back on.
Yeah, they do.
It's just an amazing group. So, but I did get throughout the day. I listened to a couple of the podcasts, and one of them that I did. Our friends from Tox and Crocs podcast, man, they mention us almost every time they're on the air.
Oh,
it's
really?
unbelievable.
Nice.
Oh, good, Chris. Yeah, they did. If you got an opportunity, go listen to them. They got
Tox
a lot
and
of
Crocs,
wisdom.
yep.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom on that.
I'm just thinking we need to hurry up and get a team so I can take breaks every now and then. I think that helped me out a lot.
Team is on the Bible study?
Like a team in everything to where I can actually take breaks in the ministry.
Yeah, I think you're burning the candle at both ends a little
bit.
bit.
Out, boys. I'm played out. But I don't have time to stop right now. I just don't.
Nope.
I just don't.
But it's coming. But it's coming.
It is coming.
But it's
okay.
coming.
Let's wrap it up so we can give the audience a less than 2 hour podcast this week. How about we do that? But thanks again, Nero, for coming on. I appreciate it. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We love you. We are out.
I'll take you home.
Thank you so much for listening to the Help My Unbelief podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And more importantly, tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for new episodes.